Of course, I came from a family of drinkers. I would never show emotions. I had to be strong. And then as I walk home drunk, you know, I feel guilty because I spent money that Deanne and the children needed for food. And as I getting closer to home, the guilty I was feeling, and by the time I knocked on the door, it was like a hurricane coming in. From the moment Mother Mary came to me, when I was knelt at the Blue Cross, my life could never be the same again. But the peace I was feeling, it was so beautiful, and it changed my life completely. And I moved more gentler, talked more gently, and was able to talk without alcohol in me, which was amazing. And I was just filled with such peace. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I can see it now. It's just heavenly, heavenly. My name is Donie Kearney. I was born in Cork City, Ireland. I was the second oldest of 5. Our dad died when I was 5. He was 29, died of leukemia. I didn't know my dad, and of course I didn't even know what leukemia was. And then our lives changed completely. Me and my brother Richard, who was 11 months older than me, we used to run wild in Cork, run away from home and just survive the best we could, steal or whatever. We worked for the milkman. We used to sleep in his van and deliver milk. I was a paper boy in Cork City selling the Echo, so 6 o'clock in the evening I'd be down the town shouting out, "Evening Echo, Evening Echo." And the longest we were run away from home, I think, was about 2 weeks. We lived in a dirty old caravan. Our uncle Mikey found us in there and brought us home. At the age of 10, we came to England, and then life changed even more. By the time I was 11 and a half, I was put into care. So distant from my brothers and sisters, didn't really know them. I had no schooling, never learned to read or write. I was totally illiterate, which I found out what illiterate is. Of course, I wouldn't know what that was. Nothing about God at all in my life. The only thing in my life, really, as I grew, was anger and the way my life was and what happened. Anger towards my mom about the things that happened. Just angry about everything. Me and Richard spent 6 months in Oxford with my mum's aunt, and we used to run away from school from there and borrow some bikes and ride around Oxford and get into trouble and everything. He was my best friend. He was my only friend, Richard was. You know, we shared everything, the pain, everything. He went through the same things as I did as a child. And I think in some cases a lot worse. You know, his beatings were a lot worse. He was always the stronger one, protecting me always. And then when we got put away into care, he went to one place, I went to another place, and the closeness that we did have was gone. It was just gone because we were separated and brought up in different places. So when I came back to Abingdon at the age of 16 and a half, I think, I moved back into Mum's house and got a job. My first job was in the leather factory, and so used to give me Mum the housekeeping. I wasn't much of a drinker then, you know. I used to go out, and then in Abingdon they used to have the late show on a Saturday evening. I think it started at 10. So I used to go in there to the cinema and buy buy some sweets to take in, and that's where I met Deanne. Deanne was a housearrest that shows you to your seats, and who is the love of my life. But of course then, I didn't know what love was. I never knew what love was. So because I wasn't shown love, how could I show love back when I didn't know it? One day we got talking. To be truthful, you know, I kissed the back of her neck and I expected to get a slap, but I didn't. And we just, there was just something there at the beginning. It was, yeah, I know it now as soulmates. We were soulmates. And even though I didn't know love or feelings, there was a bit of a spark there. And then we got married, had children, Danielle. Then I started drinking more. I worked on the building sites, and then of course when you got rained off, you went straight to the pub, and you were in the pub. Of course I came from a family of drinkers. My mum drunk, my stepfather drunk, my uncles and my aunts. So you were brought up with alcohol, and when I started drinking, it was just a couple of pints, and then gradually it got more and more. And then as I drank, I used to get more angrier. It was like, the way I can explain it is, you know, my mind was a sponge, an empty sponge. And all it soaked up was alcohol. And all I knew was anger. Because I couldn't read or write or anything, I knew nothing of the world, because I never watched the news. I could never read a newspaper, and the only people I talked to was only drunks themselves. And I could never, I was always shy, so I could never talk to people. It was only when I had a couple of pints in me that loosened my tongue and I was able to talk. And then of course, the more I drank, the only people that could understand what I was saying was people the same as me, alcoholics, just drinking. And of course it was just rubbish coming out of your mouth. But I felt good because I was talking. But even though I was talking rubbish, it was just kind of crazy. So drinking, alcohol and being in the pub was my life. It was the only thing I knew. Home life, having a home and a family, that came second to the drinking. Everybody came second to the drinking. I just drunk and spending money, and then as I walk home from the pub, drunk, you know, I feel guilty because I spent money that Deanne and the children needed for food. And as I getting closer to home, the guilty I was feeling, and by the time I knocked on the door, it was like a hurricane coming in. When Deanne opened the door, I was just so angry, and of course I took it out on Deanne and blamed Deanne. I was depriving my family, you know, but I only cared about myself because I only looked after myself. I was hurt so many times in my life that I would never show emotions. I had to be strong, and drinking was made that worse, because I was brought up in that situation myself, where my mum and stepfather would be arguing with drinking them, and we would be in the bedroom shivering with fright and wet yourself, you know, listening to the arguments going on, the swearing and everything. And I put my children through that. You know, it's just, I didn't know any different. The turning point in my life was when it was our anniversary. I said to Deanne, you know, about finishing work early and her finishing work early, and we have the time together. But of course, I used that as an excuse to be drinking. So I was drinking by the time she got home. And then the phone rang, and Deanne answered it, and it was my brother's wife, Kim. And when Deanne got off the phone, I could see there was something wrong, and she said, Christopher, my nephew back in Ireland, was killed in a car crash. He was 18. And I just felt something come over me. Diane could see something come over me. I went upstairs and I cried, and Diane came up and comforted me and said, do you want to go back? Do you want to go back to Ireland? I said, yes. And she said, when? I said, today if I can. And we went down to the travel agency, but the only flight I could get was the next morning. And of course, back in Ireland, the funeral's 3 days after the death. There I am, an alcoholic. I didn't speak to my mum for 5 years. My brother, who just lost his son, for 7 years. None of my siblings did I speak to. I think if they saw me in town, they would duck into a shop, you know, so to avoid me, because they wouldn't know what to expect from me. I was over there, we had an open ticket, so I was over there a good few days, a week after the funeral, and I wasn't really drinking, and that was very strange. And I did a lot of walking, emotionally, and I lost a lot of weight. So when my mum and the rest of my brothers and sisters went back to England, I was there, Arista, I was in bread and breakfast, and then he just said to me, he said, I got a pilgrimage going back to Medjugorje in 2 months, and you know, I think it'd be good for you to come with me. And I said, yeah, of course, not knowing what Medjugorje was or anything, you know. And when I came back to Abingdon, back to Diane, I said this to her, and Diane's brilliant. She's always managed to find the money for me to go to these places. So of course, I'm just about to get on the coast to go to Medjugorje. All I'm thinking about really is, you know, getting to a bar, having a couple of pints, and just relaxing after the flight and that. I stepped foot on the coast, and then I had this feeling, this overwhelming feeling, that this wasn't a place for me to be drinking. And very, very strange to feel that this wasn't a place for me to be drinking. And I never drank alcohol in the 2 weeks we were in Medjugorje, and I never drank alcohol again, and that was 23 years ago. So for me, I always say to people, you know, I was an alcoholic, but of course, once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic, because you can only take it one day at a time. But for me, it was taken away completely, as if I never drunk in my life. I was new, reborn, free of alcohol, no withdrawal symptoms, no craving for it. So the 2 weeks in Medjugorje, you know, was wonderful. And that was a lady that stepped in there that said to me, came to me on the coast, which I realise now, saying to me, Donie, this is not the place for you to be drinking. And then for me to know that and not to drink is, well, it's just a miracle. There's only one word for it. And that then would lead me to the last night at the Blue Cross, where a lady came to me. And if it wasn't for the coast and me, and if I was drinking, I wouldn't have been there the last night, because there was a young lady there with her niece, and her mum died a couple of weeks before she went to Medjugorje with us. And she wanted to go to the Blue Cross on the last night we were there. So she asked the other people, would anybody like to go to the Blue Cross with her? And of course, because it was the last night, everybody just wanted to go to the bar and have a drink. And if I was drinking, I would have gone to the bar as well, instead of going to the Blue Cross with her. And because a lady came to me, and I felt that feeling that this wasn't a place for me to be drinking, I went to the Blue Cross with this young lady and her niece. And as I knelt down in front of the Blue Cross with a rosary bead praying, I just felt a lady's presence come alive. I saw a lady, I was in this beautiful, peaceful light, and a lady said to me, she said, everything's going to be all right. And I was just filled with such peace. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I can see it now. It's just heavenly, heavenly. And when I came back to England, I didn't stand on a stool and say to Deanne, you know, this happened and that happened. Your marriage is going to be annulled. You're going to become a Catholic, or children are going to become Catholics. I didn't say anything. I just had a load of peace. Deanne could see that. I started going to church and going on Sundays, going during the week. And I remember one Friday night, you know, because after I finished work on a Friday, I always got ready to go to the pub. And I was in the bathroom after having the bath, and then I was having to shave. And I was looking in the mirror having the shave. I smiled because it was so lovely to be getting ready and having a shave to go to Friday night mass instead of going to the pub. And that was wonderful, you know. So many feelings, so many wonderful feelings Mother Mary has given me. So thank God for that. Thank God that I didn't drink, that the strong feeling that Our Lady, Mother Mary, put into my heart when I stepped on the coast, that kept me away from drink for 23 years and for the rest of my life. When I came back from Medjugorje and Deanne saw the change in me in her bedroom where we used to live, there was a little cupboard. So Deanne took the door off and had a statue of Our Lady and built an altar. And it was so beautiful that I used to pray the rosary there. And then in church, when I go to church and I'm praying in church, people, I don't hear anything, you know, it's just so calm and peaceful that if somebody fell over I wouldn't know, because I'm so engrossed in what I'm doing. Sometimes it feels like I did a reflection. You know, have you ever felt like you're floating when you're in prayer? When I'm on the sanctuary serving Mass and I knelt there, it's like everything disappears and you're in a different place. You just lifted up, and you're lifted up in heaven. And I could see myself in heaven, kneeling there for eternity in front of God. When I meet people for the first time, it's just so easy to talk to them and talk to them about Medjugorje and Our Lady coming to me. It just flows out of me, and it's so beautiful. And they listen as well, and they want to know more, because it is about showing and sharing Mother Mary to others. Mother Mary is there for all of us. She is peace. She is the protector from the evil one. She is our protector. She is there. She is our mother. And we all, even though we mightn't know her, Mary is there praying for us and with us all the time. She's a great part of Deanne's life and my life. And at church saying the rosary, it's lovely. It is. Mother Mary is everything, and she is there to give us that peace and love. We only have to open our door.
Our Lady of Fatima will go down as the greatest of Marian apparitions in history. It all began on May 13th in the year 1917 when 3 shepherd children, Lucia dos Santos, her cousins Francisco Marto and Jacinta Marto, witnessed a vision of the Virgin Mary standing in front of them in the fields of Cova de Iria. They received messages of peace and of prayer, and they even saw a vision of hell. Many thousands of people began to gather in that area, and they saw the children there seeing the Virgin Mary, the Blessed Mother of God. These messages were distributed to the faithful, made it all around the world, making Fatima the greatest of all Marian devotions. The greatest miracle that happened related to Fatima was the Great Sun Miracle, which occurred on October 13th, in which the thousands of people there who had been gathered to hear those messages of Our Lady and to witness a miracle were drenched in a rainstorm, and they looked up to the sky and they saw the sun growing in size and spinning and descending on them. Was it mass hallucination? I'm not quite sure. The people there who were drenched previously were instantaneously dried, and people witnessed this miracle from many miles away. Our Lady of Fatima goes down as one of the greatest apparitions in church history, and Pope John Paul II beatified two of those visionaries and released the third secret of Fatima that related to the assassination of a bishop in white. He, of course, relates that to his own assassination attempt on the feast of Our Lady of Fatima, taking the bullet from that assassination and placing it in the crown of Our Lady of Fatima. Our Lady of Fatima will go down as the greatest Marian apparition in the history of the Catholic Church.